There are pastries by the bar. There should also be a tip jar. So I know this is exciting, and we will have more time for networking and chatting and personal storytelling. But right now, we're gonna just calm down a little bit, despite all the caffeine that we infused you with now. And we're gonna listen to our guest speaker. Again, welcome. This is Specialists in Entrepreneurs. It is February 2026. We will have a few more throughout the semester in March and April, so you can look forward to those. And if you follow us on LinkedIn or you're on our curated mailing list, you'll get informed about those. All right, I'm Christian Butzke. I work out of the Office of Research, trying to encourage more of our faculty members and grad students to be entrepreneurial, or at least employ entrepreneurial thinking when they do their research, when they write proposals, when they teach, when they engage with students, with alumni, with their colleagues. We'll have an interesting talk about venture studio formation next month, by the way. So come on back then. I see quite a few of my innovation and entrepreneurship fellows representing the different colleges here in town, and some of our ambassadors as well. That's great. Again, this is an event to feature a storyteller, but also to, again, network, to meet people who are engaged in our innovation, entrepreneurship, research, commercialization support ecosystem. So, again, it's often those personal connections, and maybe you'll find somebody to work with, work for, doing these little casual get-togethers here. But for today, I have asked a gentleman who is still relatively new to Purdue. I've been here for 20 years now, so the years add up. But Kostas Grigoriou is a faculty member in the Daniels School of Business, and he is a clinical assistant professor for strategy, which sounds quite awesome and ambitious. But he's also running a new program with the Daniels School, with the College of Engineering. That is, he's running the Burton Morgan venture competition as well. And I see a few faces here that participated in the creation of new student-based ventures. So again, this idea of bringing faculty, staff, students, alumni, industry partners together to build new ventures, create enterprise around problems that we identify, new ideas that are coming out of our labs or just out of your own creative minds. That's what it's all about. Now, my understanding is he has a torn ACL and a titanium knee. No, that he is not. That's too soon. Too soon. I apologize for that. But Kostas is here with us today. He'll give us plenty of opportunity to discuss his vision of what Purdue is going to do in the future, being one of the top universities for entrepreneurship, for innovation in the region, in the country, and the world. So with that, please welcome the Kid Rock of entrepreneurship. No, that's also too soon. Kostas Grigoriou.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. So happy to be here. Excited to see so many familiar faces. Thank you for making it today. I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes because Christian says I'm just the candy that brings people here, and the whole reason why we're doing this is the conversations. So I'm going to leave a lot of time for that. I've been asked to tell a story. So the story that I'm going to tell today is going to have three parts. Part number one is going to be about, I want to ask and then answer the question, what makes a good founder? Or what makes a good startup? It's the key question that drives the story. Once I do that, in the end, and it's going to be a little depressing for the students, actually, the answer that I'm going to give. I'm going to say what that means for students, and number three, what that maybe means for us at Purdue, who are not students, and are here to help them. So those are the three parts of my story. Just maybe to add a little bit of credibility to why you should even believe my answer, is for 8 to 10 years before coming to Purdue, I spent it building startups, either myself or bidding with others. I've launched 3 or 4 companies of my own. I've raised money 3 times. I worked with 500 aspiring founders and 50 to 100 that actually became founders and started companies and raised money and scaled them and all that fun stuff. So I've seen them across a number of different contexts. And I want to take those lessons. I've seen founders become founders and do well in many different contexts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that experience and try to say, what did I learn? What makes a good founder based from those experiences? A disclaimer is, like I said, the answer that I have is based on my experiences, my observations, my biases. It's what I saw, it's what I think. Some may find it right, some may find it wrong, some may find it provocative. I'm known to be one that loves debating. I'm also known to be the one that loves kind of instigating, stirring the pot. It's nice to stir the pot every now and then. You know, if you cook, if you don't stir it, it's like it burns at the bottom, it creates that crust at the top. So you gotta go. So let's start. What makes a good founder? What do you guys think? What makes a good founder? Come on, Max. Awesome. Other thoughts? I want at least 5. Come on, Charlie.
A slight bit of delusion in themselves, and the path forward, and against all odds making it.
You need to be delusional. I love it. Other thoughts? Yeah? Crazy and hardworking enough. Love it. 2 more. Come on. Go ahead. Oh, I love that. Someone that can take no for an answer. One more. Yeah. That too. Love it. Wonderful ideas. Anybody who really wants to share their idea what makes a good founder? All right. Question number 1. Why are we even asking this? I think it's an important part of the story. Why are we even asking what makes a good founder? And mind you, I'm not asking what makes a founder. That's easy. You just create an LLC and a C Corp and you're like, I'm a founder now. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what makes somebody who, when you look at them before they start, you're like, okay, that's probably going to be a good founder. Why are we even asking this? I will submit that founders or entrepreneurs are the vehicle for all progress. As a result, it's kind of an important question to ask. Why do I say that? Progress as in, I'm not talking about value creation. Value creation comes from the world's best ever invention, which is the American corporation. Value creation comes from the corporation, like giant organizations, coordinate resources, allocate resources, create it on value. But progress, how do we go from that regular process of value creation to step changes? That comes from entrepreneurs. As a result, it's an important question to ask and answer. I fell in love with the idea of a founder 1 year into my journey in America. I'll take you back to that. I picked up a book called Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy, written by an Austrian economist, Joseph Schumpeter, where he made this point that entrepreneurs are the agents of change and progress. And if, as a society, we have one responsibility. It is to either support those entrepreneurs who are the agents of change or get out of their way. Then he tied it to capitalism and socialism, that socialism is the system that crushes those people, and capitalism the system that empowers those people. But the point that stuck with me was that's the person that we need to worry about, the entrepreneur. Because they bring change, they see something old and inefficient, and they say, out with the old, in with the new, let's go get them. As I was reading this book, it's year one, I'm at Georgia Tech. I look around me, I see my PhD friends building companies, starting startups. I read the news, that's 2008, this financial crisis, but rising from the ashes of the financial crisis, again, entrepreneurs building companies that by now are multi-billion or trillion-dollar companies. So I was like, this is kind of true. This is an amazing thing, entrepreneurs. We need to support them. That's when I fell in love with it. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to either be one or help those people. We gotta help those people. So I'll preview the answer to what makes a good founder. What makes a good founder to me is confidence in their ability to execute. Everything to me boils down to what makes a good founder is confidence in their ability to execute. Well, geez, Kostas, that's such a huge insight. Like, what does that even mean? What's, confidence, ability to execute, what's all that stuff? Well, it is actually a function of a bunch of different things. It's how do you get that confidence that you have the ability to execute? Well, where does it come from? A number of different places. Their own traits, some crazier than others, so they're like, I got this. It comes from skills they have or develop. It comes from experiences they lived. It comes from opportunity that hits them in the face. And they're like, this is so big, like we have to do something about this. It comes from we can do this realization when they kind of see the path to greatness and scale and, oh, I can see my product and it can happen. It comes from some kind of calculation that, oh, and in the end it's worth it. It comes from, okay, I want to create something. I'm experiencing an unmet need. I see a customer who's willing to pay for something, so I'm going to give it to them. And it turns out that it's a lot of them who are willing to pay for this. And if I calculate, that sounds like a big market. Let's freaking go. That's where it comes from. It comes from all those things. All right? So I'll tell you now why do I say that? What exactly did I see those things? The first context that I started seeing some of those things was I spent 3 years at McKinsey working with companies, legacy industries, who wanted to digitally transform themselves. Believe it or not, working at a large consulting firm inside large corporations was the first place where I got to see founders in actions. Founders to me are like, he's just putting together resources in a unique way to create something new. It doesn't have to be, I just created an independent company. That's just a legal entity. But a person that goes in and takes a legacy company and completely digitally transforms, that's a founder. And I saw a lot of them in those companies. And who were they? They possessed certain traits. You could see they could communicate a vision. They could bring people together. They could understand every stakeholder around them and satisfy everybody's kind of needs, or at least make them not too mad. They could articulate exactly what the problem is and what the solution is. They were generally upbeat. They were a little crazy. Just in regular American corporations. There were people being founders, changing the path of the corporation they were in because of those simple traits and behaviors. The second place where I started seeing a lot of those founders of independent startups in action was High Alpha. It's, for those of you who don't know, High Alpha is a venture studio in Indy, arguably one of the world's top 5. B2B SaaS in certain verticals. A venture studio is a super interesting environment to sort of study what makes a good founder. Why? Because the whole existence of a venture studio is this idea that founders matter. What drives good company creation is the founder. And because of that belief, venture studios say that if we're going to become more successful in building good startups, the thing that we need to worry about is the founder. As a result, at least one of the two founders needs to be a good one. So we're going to be that, the venture studio. We're going to be one of the two founders because at least one of them needs to be good. And then attract somebody who ideally is also good. So both of us together can go build companies. So that's why it's sort of an interesting, and at the same time, there's this belief in the founder, but also this idea that I'm an investor and a co-founder at the same time. So as an investor, I'm looking for confidence in somebody else and in myself. And as a co-founder, I'm looking for confidence in myself. So what did I see at High Alpha? So as a result, at High Alpha, we had our very own ideas. We would develop them, validate them all the way, like get extreme confidence in how good the idea was. And then we would go out to try to find the right founder to launch those companies for us. And we had this forcing function called Sprint Week. Every 6 to 8 weeks, we would shut down the company for a week, our phones, our laptops, get in a room, actually get into 4 different rooms with 4 of the ideas that we loved. And then we would bring potential co-founders to work with us over a week so that at the end of the week, we can decide, do we want to launch this company now with that person as a co-founder or not? That was the simple process. Why did we do it that way? Because we wanted to spend a week with somebody who was going to be a founder to assess, is this going to be a good founder? And I'll tell you this, I remember 30-something cases where we had an incredible idea, but not a great founder, and we did not launch those companies. And I can think of many cases where we didn't actually love the idea, but we loved the founder, so we did it. Back to what really matters is the founder. The founder is going to figure it out. So what were we looking for in a week? So it's like random strangers. Like we're going to spend together 4 days in a room trying to build a company. What were we looking for? Well, we were looking for, I have a cheat sheet. We're looking for people with high conviction. High conviction that somebody who shows up with a perspective, right or wrong, it doesn't matter. A strong, high conviction in whatever they believe, a vision that they can articulate. We were looking for people who can build and lead the team. We just put them in a room with strangers and we said, you lead this group now. Take them. Build and lead the team. We were looking for problem-solving chops. We were looking for how does this person solve extremely complex problems in a time-pressured environment. We have 3.5 days to go from here's an idea to here's a company. That's not easy. Like we would leave those weeks with traction. These are very, very hard problems. So we're looking for like, how do they structure? How do they go about this? Do they have the chops to go? We're looking for pace. We're looking for speed. Founders need to be quick. They need to be, they need to go. We were looking for, what else? Grit. We were looking for resilience. We were looking for, another thing we were looking for, super interesting, was network and connections and domain expertise all lumped into one. What does that mean? One of the things that we wanted to do in order for us to want to launch the company at the end of the week what we wanted to see was traction. Like, do we have customers? We wanted customers before the end of the week. And where do those come from? Well, the founder who pick up the phone and call 10 of their buddies, and then they would give him 10 more connections, and then we would have LOIs before the end of the week. Does that happen? We wanted to see, do you have the domain network to support what you're trying to build? So you see some indications already. Then High Alpha Innovation, we launched another company. We started building with corporate partners, somewhat different environment. Corporation, there's an opportunity to build a startup that sells into the corporation. Same deal. We were there to find the right founder. What were we looking for? Same story. Domain expertise. Do you understand the space? Why is domain expertise important? Because it turns out that starting a company and based on an unmet need, it's not as simple as, okay, I'm just looking at the world from far and I kind of see an unmet. You gotta go deep. You gotta go deep to find those unmet needs. And if you don't have the domain expertise, you won't find them. So we're looking for domain expertise. We're looking for resilience and grit. We were looking for ability to build a team. We were looking for same story, like High Alpha. Chapter 4, we built a digital health studio. We launched health tech companies. One was for the future of menopause. Who did we go get for that? We got Dr. Bittner, who had spent her entire life up in Michigan building a menopause clinic, yelling out of her mind for 30 years before that this is an underserved area. People don't pay enough attention. There's so many things we could be doing differently. She spent her entire life doing this. And 30 years later, we show up and want to build a menopause company. Who do we want to build it with? We want to build it with her. She understands this. You have to have lived the problem. You have to have earned insights. You have to be obsessed about the problem you're about to solve to become a founder. That is table stakes. Nobody else could do it better. The rest, she had a team, she launched a business, she knew how to build a team, she knew how to be a leader, and she was obsessed about the problem. That's what we need. We wanted to build a disease management platform for diabetes. Who did we go get? We got Mary Siller, 20 years careers in pharma. She understood healthcare, she understood payers, she understood commercials, she understood R&D, she understood diabetes. She had a kid with diabetes. She was obsessed. She spent 25 years trying to fix this for patients. That's who we want. That's who we want leading the companies we build. We want domain expertise. We want network. We want, do you understand the space that you're about to go in? Do you understand what this thing looks like? That's what we need. You see a pattern here on what makes a good founder. I'll ask you now, how old do you think the average good founder is? How old do you think? Yeah. 40? 45? The best data that we have suggests that the average good founder is indeed 45. Makes sense, right? If we gotta have all those things, skills, experience, chops, Dencore, all that stuff. 45. Here's an interesting thing though. AI has changed a lot of this. In just the last 3 years, we observe that average age has come down to 34. In just the last 3 years. I saw that myself at Forum Ventures, which was the last place I built companies right before coming here, where we exclusively built AI companies. The average age is going down. What's happening is what makes a good founder changing? I would argue, absolutely not. The same story is still there. What is changing is how fast one can get to what you need to have. How fast can you get to those skills, those experiences, the network, the earned insight? Why do we want domain expertise? We won it because of these earned insights. You should have lived healthcare for 30 years to understand it. Used to be the case. With AI, it's actually becoming a little easier to get there. We get there a little faster. And we're seeing it. So our forum, the three things we were looking for when we were building founders, we didn't even earned insights was one. Look at my cheat sheet here. Coachability and speed. That's it. Our whole list of what makes a good founder became just three things. Earned insights, coachability, speed. The assumption being that you can get to those earned insights much faster. Our average founder at Forum was 27. Never been a founder before, worked maybe at a startup for 3 years, but they could build an AI company. So that's what makes a good founder and how it's actually changing a little bit. I want to touch on two things before I wrap. What does this mean for the students in the group? I like making things a little actionable. So what does this mean? Does it mean don't be a founder? Because probably like, I don't know, 20, 22, 23, you're far from even the new average age. And if I'm telling you that that's all the stuff that you need to have and you don't even have half of them, what's the answer? Don't become a founder? That's not the answer. The answer is do become a founder, fail 2 times, so you can then actually become a good founder the third time. So, but in order to just get there by 35, you need to start building companies now. In a little more seriousness, I think what it tells you is, it does tell you what are some of the things that you should think about doing now. So you have between 1 or 4 years left here. The biggest thing that I'll add is this. Do hard things while you are in college. Put yourselves in situations where you do really, really hard things with a lot of other people, because if that happens, hard things with other people, you build a network, you learn how to lead a team, you learn how to build a team, you learn problem solving, because hard things, you learn to structure those problems. Do hard things with other people. And I'm recorded. Courses are not one. So like I'm talking about really hard things, like actual things, build things with others. Here's one thing that I see a lot from students that I do not like and I want us to change. You guys build you think like these 4 years are for you to build your resume. So I see people just jumping from one thing to another. The FOMO, I'm gonna lead the club here and then I'm gonna lead the club there and then I'm gonna lead this committee over there. You guys get into so many different things and you do them for a month or two and then off you go to the next one. We put it on the CV. Employers see through that shit. You don't do that. Like, commit. I'm not talking about pick one thing and do it for 4 years, but commit to some hard things and do them well. Go deep, because that's where domain expertise is going to come from. That's where team creation is going to come from. That's where network is going to come from. You got to go deep. Like, find 2 or 3 things that you care about and just go deep. Build a portfolio of things you did instead of just a bunch of little things that you got titles for. That's to me, that's the biggest. Because if you do that well, think about it. You will learn problem solving. You will have a network. You'll make people excited, etc., etc. Number 2 thing to do in college, knowing what a good founder is build your network, but working with others in real things. One thing that people don't think enough, like you're so young, the shadow of the future is so long that you're building your reputation. You gotta show up every day, whatever the context. You gotta show up. You gotta show up because that builds your reputation. People will remember you. You're gonna see. You're at Purdue. All these people are gonna be leaders tomorrow, and they're gonna remember you. What you did, what you said, whether you showed up, whether you didn't. It is important that you show up every day. It is important that you help others. That's how they kind of remember you. It's like, oh, that so-and-so was so helpful in whatever we were doing. You gotta help. That's how you build the network. You gotta meet everybody, see the cool stuff that people are working on. Why? Because 10 years from now, when you will be looking for co-founders, those will be the pool of your co-founders. So it doesn't mean like when needing all those things doesn't mean that you cannot do it now. You probably cannot do it now, to be honest, be a good founder. But you can be a good founder 10 years from now. And what will you need then? You're going to need customers and co-founders. And the pool of co-founders is going to come from the people that you meet right here. So do it, meet them. Communicate, manage stakeholders, develop the skills that you need to develop, all those different things. Look at different things. Put your hands in many different ways. Why? Because assess opportunities. Because, like I said earlier, the opportunity needs to hit you in the face. That's when you know you're ready to become a founder. For you to know that something is a big opportunity, so it actually does hit you in the face, it means that you have assessed hundreds of opportunities before that. So now, in relative terms, you do know that something is hitting you in the face. You won't know unless you go through 100. It will just look like it's hitting you in the face, but it's not actually hitting you in the face. You got to compare it against other things. So to me, that's some actionable things that you can do. For us, to wrap up this conversation, for the rest of us who are here to help you, the students, get there, what does that mean? We are a university, and we have a playbook. The playbook goes, we build a building, we create courses that have content, we put a professor to teach the content, end of story. We err a little too much on the side of teaching content. And if you remember the story that I said earlier, I never said a good idea or a good process makes a good founder. So turns out it actually doesn't matter to teach good content. So what should we be doing instead, maybe? Put our students, you all, in an environment that creates the collisions and the opportunities for them to meet their future co-founders. When you look at a 21-year-old student and you compare that to what makes a good founder, what are they missing? Domain expertise, co-founders, customers. They probably have the rest, or they can develop the rest. So if we want to help them, maybe we can get them customers. If we want to help them, maybe we want to put them in situations where they can find their co-founders. Just work together so you can find your co-founders. If we're going to help them, maybe we want to showcase, maybe with role models, other entrepreneurs, actual people from industry, domain expertise so they can go get it, because that's what they're missing. I think if we do some of those things right, we have an opportunity here. I think Christian earlier said, one of the greatest universities for startup creation. I think we can be. I also think we're not right now. I think we do some of those things right. We do have the talent, the skills, the experiences to be one of the best places for entrepreneurship, and hopefully start measuring our output same way that places like us, like Illinois or Michigan or Georgia Tech, measure their output. When you go to their entrepreneurship and venture creation websites, they say number of startups launched by students, number of startups launched, market value created by our startup activities, number of students who found jobs in startups, impact on the state of Georgia for Georgia Tech, on the state of Michigan by university, dollar impact. We're not measuring that, frankly, because we're not doing it. That's why we're not measuring that. We would be measuring it if we had something to say. So we resort to measuring inputs like research expenditures and patents and stuff like that. I think if we do certain things right, we do have the opportunity to be the place that generates student startups, value creation for our state, for our students, for the world. Because the entrepreneur is the agent of change, and like Subita said, it is our responsibility to support them or get out of their way. That's my story for today. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Kostas. I think you realize why I invited him. The pots there are the instigator. I think that's what it takes to really get Purdue right into the top line of entrepreneurial universities. And of course, some of our competitors are pursuing a founder-forward, founder-first philosophy, and we really need to keep up with what's going on in other places. When you started talking, I thought you said what makes a great father rather than a great founder, but I think there's quite a bit of overlap between the two. From your perspective, I just take the first question here. What would it take, budget-wise, initiative-wise, for Purdue to really make the next big leap to be one of the leaders in the country in regard to innovation, entrepreneurship, research, commercialization? What should we do?
Christian, great question. I'll answer it like founders do. Surprisingly, most great things do not need a lot of money. We just need the right mindset. I can point to very actionable opportunities that we can build tomorrow morning with very, very little money, definitely a lot less money than we're spending right now. So I can measure it, I can give you a dollar number, but I think what's more important here is to understand that actually it's not a capital constraint. It is a mindset constraint more than anything. And the moment we switch from that, the money is gonna take care of itself. Sorry, I didn't answer your question, but that's what I think.
Thank you. That gives me the opportunity to do a pitch on March 2nd, and there's room for a question in just a second. March 2nd, we have the presidential lecture, and the speaker will be Lisa Su. Lisa is the Chief Executive Officer for Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, a $350 billion market evaluation company, the largest AI chip producers. And that's a follow-up that she's here to one of our president entrepreneurs. Those of you who remember Ruth Cotter, the second in charge of the company, being here last year. And so again, these opportunities to network, to bring people in, to support us both maybe financially, but probably more importantly, mentally, from a mindset, from a cultural perspective, I think that's a great outcome that we can measure, and that I think is going to benefit all of us. I think questions for Kostas. Max, you go.
I don't know if
go
I will
first.
Max ask a question, but it's okay.
Keep it short. It's not a time for statements here. You had your time.
Okay, for the students here, what would you say is the responsibility for us students to help cultivate the entrepreneurs, the student organizations, like student leadership? What would you say their role in the ecosystem, and also what the administration's roles is in this whole thing?
I won't even bother answering the administration question because, again, like a former founder, I don't. Administration doesn't. Maybe they have a role to stay out of the way, but otherwise, it's like I don't see a role. The role is bottom up. That's how value is created. That's how startups are built. So it's a responsibility for every student, self-organize, coordinate, go build, create value, help each other, meet each other, go find the domain expertise that you need, go find the customers that you need. Nobody's gonna help you, nobody should help you, because what we wanna see from you, like I said earlier, resilience, grit, speed. How am I gonna see those things if an administration comes in and hands it to you? Right? I don't want an administration or anybody top down to hand it to you, because that would mean that I'm not testing your resilience. So that's the responsibility of students and student founders and student clubs. Cultivate the community, create spaces, environments for collisions, work with each other, help each other, go deep, stop staying on the surface of stuff. There's nothing pretty on the surface of things. Nobody ever said, the last 2 AI companies we built were like grant writing was one. Nobody ever woke up and said, oh, I wanna change the future of grant writing. Nobody ever said that. But actually, it turns out that if you open that black box and you go deep into a topic, it it is very exciting to freaking fix that problem because it creates repercussions in a giant system. It affects people's lives. It makes things so much better if you do fix grant writing and people get excited about it and they build billion-dollar companies around it. But you won't get there until you go deep, until you open that freaking black box and go beyond the surface and start doing actually hard things. That's when you start learning how value is actually being created. Why do certain things matter? What can I do about them? And so on and so forth. So that's the responsibility of founders and students and student clubs. And like I said, the administration, I see none. It's not their job to hand it to you. Go get it. Yeah, Bernardo. Yeah, a little louder. Go hard.
Or is it?
Thanks, Max. Hey, Kostas. Thanks for being here today. My question is more towards the ideation side of it.
Yep.
You worked in high alpha foreign ventures, and I bet that a lot of what you did as well was finding the right ideas and how to start building them. I think that, at least personally, and with a few other friends, one of the biggest challenges is finding the right thing to do. And with AI, now we can find anything. What would you recommend us students and other people here to do and tools to use to find those right ideas?
Yeah, you gotta start with one or two things. It's very easy to go find unmet need using AI, but it's also easy for everybody else to find ideas using AI. So what can you do? What makes you different? What makes each one of us different? It's the confidence in your ability to execute. That's what makes a good founder. Where does it come from in the space of where do ideas come from? Lived experiences, earned insights. That's where it comes from. And then your passion, your obsession about something. So where can you find good ideas? There's nothing inherently good about any ideas. What is inherently good is if it's based on a lived experience. You saw it, you lived it, you know it better than many. As a result, you're probably more likely to be the one to fix it. A domain, like you understand something a lot better than many other people, that gives you a little higher confidence than anybody else. You can go fix it. If you understand something really well, you also likely you may develop an obsession to go fix it. So a good idea for you, Bernardo, or for me, Kostas, or for him, Charlie, is the thing that makes you tick. Because you need obsession about the problem that will make you fix it better than anybody else. That will make you execute better than anybody else. And that is what makes that idea good. That you care about it is the thing that makes it good. That make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
So for things like hard industries, like you said, grant writing, for example, we as students don't have lived experience to kind of go after things that are very deep into industry or things that require like years of working to gain even surface level knowledge of. How do we tackle those real problems, or do you suggest that we kind of just stay away from them overall?
I wouldn't. You're absolutely right. It is a lot easier to go after things that, like I said, lived experiences. You see problems, you observe problems, you have a role, you play a role in the ecosystem. Playing that role, living your life, interacting with the stuff that you interact with, gives you a ton of lived experience. Use that. Start there to go fix stuff. Even if it's not there, and for whatever reason you're gonna go hard, go back to my earlier point, which is, you gotta go deep. You gotta find a domain that something about it excites you, and go deep. Don't stop jumping from one thing to another. Understand it deeply, learn about it, because the moment you start peeling layers, it actually gets exciting. And the moment you go like 6 layers deep, it starts getting really exciting. And you see value, and you truly understand it, and you see unmet needs. So for whatever reason, there's a space that intrigues you, although it's not in your lived experiences. It's not a don't do it, it's a do it, but go deep. Because you're competing against somebody who's been doing this for 30 years in industry. They know everybody, they understand it. That's what you're competing against. So you gotta get there in terms of domain before you can sit at the same table. Yeah? Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for sharing your experience in Venture Studios. I love you. Very closely work with founders. I'm curious, like in terms of execution. I hope you can hear me better.
Yeah.
I love your experience in Venture Studios. You work super closely with founders. I'm curious, like you select A players, top class founders with like deep expertise. In terms of execution, I'm curious, what were your aha moments of things that trapped founders? So like very good founders, but like they were trapped, they were stuck there, or things that like were some hidden boosters, and you've seen some founders leveraging them, and they like fast track their entrepreneurial journey, and there were like some aha moments in your venture studio experiences.
Aha moments for founders.
Both like negative and positive, like.
The one that strikes me more often is, like, can you boil down everything that you see into a few things? You can, and there's really no key moments. It's showing up consistently. I think good founders, great founders, possess a different type of pace and obsession about what they do. Yeah, like being locked in is, I think, a better way to describe it. Where you like once everything, knowing when to turn that locked in into let's just now go, because there's a balance here. Like you gotta explore before you exploit. You gotta like first understand before you zero in. You got to try to fish in many different parts of the sea until you find the right one, and then you go hard. So there's a certain degree of balance there. It was like, when do I stop doing the trying and I lock into my target? And do I do it so early? So I think the best founders find that balance, and when they do, they turn up the speed, where you just see everything just lining up, and everybody get out of my way, and they just go. They find the repeatable, scalable, and the moment they do, they truly execute. In terms of negatives, the biggest one, I've seen great founders fail because of it. I don't know, we call it resilience, grit, or whatever. People look great on paper, but sometimes if they haven't heard no many times in their life, and if they haven't experienced failure many times in their life, which many good founders haven't, because probably that's what makes them good, right? It's like great in school, great in college, got great jobs. So they haven't experienced failure that often. And when they start experiencing it, it takes them down. It's just one of those things where most of the time, like, I was like 100% sure that so-and-so person is going to make it. And then things start going south, and then just fall apart because they've never lived failure. So maybe that's another lesson for you all. Just try really hard stuff and just fail half of them. So you just feel what it feels like. And so when then it starts happening, you're like, well, good, I got this.
Good, Kostas. I think that brings us to the end. So 3 take-home messages. Commit, accept failure, and most importantly, and I think you've seen this here today, to be passionate about what you're doing. As a founder, as a professor, whatever you do, be passionate about it, and I think it'll be a fun journey, no matter where it ends. So thank you, Kostas. Really appreciate you giving this pep talk here to all of us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Next month, on the 10th again, we'll have more discussions about venture studio creation within academia, what we can do to build bigger teams, to bust some silos, and build companies around stakeholder problems. So come on back then. And again, presidential lecture on March 2nd with Lisa Su from AMD. Thanks. They're leftover pastries.